This episode of The Old Man and the Three is presented by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. When you hear those words, you can feel good knowing that State Farm is truly there to help you feel supported with coverage you need for your car, home, and even boats, motorcycles, RVs, and other things that matter to you. And you can handle things your way, whether it be in person, over the phone, on their website, or on their award-winning app. With so many insurance options, it feels good knowing you can find what fits you. So say it with me, folks. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Welcome. We are live. Thank you to State Farm for presenting this live All-Star Weekend reaction. Lots of stuff to dig into here over All-Star Weekend. First of all, I think every All-Star Weekend, when it finishes, you can say, was this a success or was this a failure? And to some degree, this All-Star Weekend was both. And I'll get into all of that. First of all, I was in Florida over the last week, coming off that Boston-Miami game on Sunday. Spent some time with my family. They were on break and got to go to some theme parks in Orlando. Fantastic time. We watched the Celebrity All-Star Game Friday night. No real reaction there other than to say Ryan Ruocco and Richard Jefferson sounded absolutely tremendous on the mic. Monica McNutt, shout out to her as well, doing fantastic work as always. Let's get to All-Star Saturday, because I think in some ways All-Star Saturday has become the premier night for All-Star Weekend. The All-Star Game in recent memory, including tonight, which I'll get to in a second, the All-Star Game is not the biggest draw. And I've said this a number of times. Every time I bring up the All-Star roster should be expanded to 15, inevitably somebody always says to me, well, you couldn't play 15. You couldn't get the rotations right. With what we just witnessed, do you think these guys care about playing 35 minutes in an All-Star game? No, it is about the honor of being an All-Star. It is about the recognition, the validation, all of that stuff. I'm not going to get into the math again. You guys know my rant. We need to expand the rosters. We can absolutely expand the rosters to 15 and not have an issue with guys getting tired and not playing enough minutes. I think most guys just want that validation. All right, All-Star Saturday. We need to figure out the skills competition. What I loved about the skills competition is that the Pacers guys, Miles Turner, Benedict Mathurin, and of course Tyrese Haliburton, they all cared. They all tried. I know it's hard to get guys to sign up for this, and I'm not going to be overly negative on this reaction, but it's very difficult as a viewer to get excited about a competition if people are not giving real effort. You know, we're watching guys try to dribble through fake defenders at, not even 3/4 speed, 50% speed. Guys the wrong way around. We either need to get full buy-in from the 8 to 10 participants, or we just need to scrap it. We need to scrap it. I've seen this a number of times over the last few years. This suggestion, we need a one-on-one tournament. I don't know that you could get enough guys that were like, yeah, I'll sign up for that one-on-one tournament. However, I'd love to see a one-on-one tournament. Give me Luka. Give me Kevin Durant. Give me Shea. Give me Jalen Brunson. Just give me all the guys that are just elite at creating for themselves. Put them in a one-on-one tournament. All-Star Saturday. Give me that. I want to see that. Otherwise, let's just scrap the skills competition. Let's just scrap it. If only 3 of the 9 people are trying, let's just scrap it. The 3-point shooting contest. It was interesting because Reggie said this a number of times, like the 3-point shooting contest in some ways has become the marquee event of All-Star Weekend. And I think there's a level of truth to that. On top of that, this weekend, I thought the highlight of the entire weekend was this Steph Curry, Sabrina Ionescu matchup. The WNBA 3-point champion, the all-time record holder for points in a 3-point contest versus, we all think, the greatest shooter of all time. You know, it's interesting, and there was a lot of commentary afterwards about some of the on-air stuff. It is interesting to me. My kids, 7 years old, 9 years old, 2 boys, all they cared about All-Star Saturday was watching Sabrina Ionescu. Now, granted, she's our hometown, one of our hometown stars for the New York Liberty. They love the Liberty, but they love Steph. They wanted to see this matchup. Younger generation, that's all they cared about. I wasn't pushing anything. That's all they cared about was watching Steph versus Sabrina. And what a moment it was. Not for men's basketball, not for women's. It was a great moment for basketball, period. I think about this all the time. Like, my 3 sisters played Division I basketball. My mother went to high school before Title IX. The NBA started in 1946. It was officially the NBA in 1951. The WNBA started in the late 90s. We have seen now over the last few seasons this just surge. I would call it a surge in popularity of women's sports, women's basketball. Think about this. A few weeks ago, the LSU South Carolina game had better ratings than a Boston Miami game, defending the last 2 Eastern Conference Finals matchups. A better rating than that game on TNT. And that South Carolina LSU game was on ESPN. You think about the ratings last night. Saturday night. Guess when the ratings peaked? When it was Steph versus Sabrina. And I think about the 2 of them. Kudos to both of them. Kudos to both of them. Because for both of them, there was a lot to lose. And potentially not a lot to gain. And guess what? They both came out looking like champions. They both came out looking like winners. I just loved it. I loved every bit of it. I love that Sabrina shot from the from the 3-point line, from the NBA 3-point line. I love that. I love that she wasn't backing down. I love that she wanted all the smoke with Steph. I loved it. And you could tell the 2 of them, they talked about it earlier today before the All-Star game. The 2 of them were actually nervous, like they cared. It mattered. You could see it on their faces, their body language. And yet they were still rooting for each other. They understood the magnitude of that moment. It was a great moment. Dame's a killer. Dame is a killer. Back-to-back 3-point shooting contest champion. Get to his All-Star game in a second. Before we go to break, I just want to touch on the dunk contest because, I think in some ways we only love the dunk contest if we've seen something we've never seen before. Think about, in recent memory, the iconic dunk contests. Vince Carter, of course. Jason Richardson. Of course, Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon. Just sort of reinventing dunks. And we now are like so used to seeing all of these different. Think about Obi Toppin a couple years ago, casually threw it off the backboard, went between the legs and got a clean dunk off. And it's like no one talks about that dunk. Now, if that dunk had been done 25, 30 years ago, right, it would be like an iconic dunk. But we've seen it. We've seen it. So you have to give Mac McClung a lot of credit. You have to. He pulled off something I hadn't seen before. I hadn't seen someone jump over someone, grab a ball, throw it up in the air, grab it again, and dunk it. That's incredible. It's incredible. I don't know that there's a fix for the dunk contest. I don't know that the answer is, well, let's get the stars to do it. Because there's a difference, as we saw, there's a difference between in-game dunkers and dunk contest dunkers. And sometimes people can be both. Sometimes people can be one or the other. And I think it's hard to find dunk contest dunkers. Certainly, Mac McClung is a dunk contest dunker. All right, we take a quick break. Here's a mid-roll from our friends from State Farm. When you get a new car or a new home, to get the insurance help you need, just say the jingle, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. It feels good, right? And the best part, it's true. State Farm is there with the coverage you need for your car, your home, and even boats, motorcycles, RVs, and other things that matter to you. I wonder if they do golf carts. With a State Farm agent, you know someone is there to help you choose the coverage you need. With so many insurance options, it feels good knowing you can find what fits your needs. And when you need ways to get help, State Farm gives you options there too. In person or on the phone with your local agent, on statefarm.com, or their award-winning app, State Farm lets you do things your way. So when you need help protecting the things that matter most, remember to say, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. All right, we're back. All right, let's get to this All-Star game. First of all, a couple things I really liked in the intro to the All-Star game. I really liked that whole bit, that conversation between David Letterman and Reggie Miller. Some great sound bites there. I love that they were walking around the court with the pictures and looking at these iconic moments together. I love the tribute to Indiana, right? I loved Babyface's anthem performance. I loved the fact that Reggie and Larry and Oscar got up there in front of the crowd to get the night started. Just fantastic. Three legends, all with these deep, strong ties to Indiana. Why can't we start anything on time in the NBA? Why can't we? I'm going to sound like an old person here, but if it says 8 o'clock, I don't want it to tip off at 8:42. All right. If I've already told my kids they can watch the first quarter, it's a Sunday night. Guess what? They've stayed up late like 4 straight nights because nothing starts on time in the NBA. And it's driving me crazy. And I work for a broadcast partner. Can we please just start things on time in the NBA? It's out of control. It's absolutely out of control. All right, on to the game. Everybody talks about NBA defenders. They don't play defense. That's why everybody scores a lot. No, this is not playing defense. This was 23 guys. I'll say 23 and a half. 23 and a half guys just not trying. And we've seen this year after year after year. And at no point tonight, at no point, did anyone outside of Kevin Durant actually try on defense? I get there were some deflections and some blocks and all that. I get it. I can watch basketball and see what effort is. And little to none. So again, I don't know that there's a fix. We talked about this for days, weeks even, after last year's All-Star event. And I'm not an all-star. I was never an all-star. I don't know what it's like for those guys. I do know there's a lot of obligations throughout the weekend. Some of them are doing, things on Friday night. Some of them are doing things on Saturday night for the league, right? Participating in the three-point contest, participating in the dunk contest like Jaylen Brown. I don't know that they all get together in the hallway before the game and say, look, guys, we're going to gauge it at about 60% effort tonight. All right. That's what we're going for. I don't know. But do I really want to watch the All-Star game? Man, I've been advocate for today's NBA. We got to figure out this. We got to figure it out. Some good things. Number one, thank God they went back to East-West, and thank God they brought back the actual All-Star jerseys. I love the warm-ups, although, depending on button all the way up, no buttons at all, very different looking fits for different players. I love the warm-ups. It felt like a real nod to like grassroots Indiana basketball or I don't know how to describe it. The jerseys were fire, though. They were absolute fire. I love when they do the All-Star jerseys instead of, guys wearing their own white Celtics jersey or their white Mavs jersey, whatever. Their purple Lakers jersey, whatever it may be. I liked the jerseys a lot. Loved that. Loved Tyrese Haliburton's start. I absolutely loved his start. Which brings me to a State Farm custom segment that I have to get to and I want to get to. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, right? A lot of good neighbors this All-Star weekend. A lot of positives. I'm going to change my tone here. A lot of positives. One positive for sure was Tyrese Haliburton. He had, I think, a level of burden like all All-Stars do when they are in the host city and they're playing for their home crowd and they're representing the host organization. It was a burden. Participated in a lot of stuff. It was interesting. I'm watching the skills competition with my in-laws. They barely watch basketball. They watched the NBA when I played. And they kept saying, like, Tyrese Haliburton is always smiling. He's always smiling. The way he came out and started the game tonight. Like, he wanted the MVP. He wanted the MVP. And I love that. He's a great ambassador. Tyrese Haliburton is a great ambassador for the game of basketball. He's a great ambassador for the Indiana Pacers. He's a great ambassador for the state of Indiana, the city of Indianapolis, all that stuff. He's just a great ambassador for the game. And I love that. You know who else is a great ambassador? Damian Lillard. Another good neighbor. I'll tell you that. Dame also wanted the MVP. And look, I mentioned the defense. He actually hit some stupidly ridiculous shots. There was a couple like free layups at the rim, but he hit some ridiculous shots. He had the step back from the top of the key over Kevin Durant, the half-court shot that he made the second half. Like, Dave, he's just a monster. When he's got it going, he's a monster. Wanted to shout out Dame. Wanted to shout out a couple other guys. First of all, I thought a great neighbor was Nikola Jokic's backside. He helped Bam throw the ball off of his backside, and then Bam came down and hit a three. And I also want to give a shout out a couple of unsung guys from the dunk contest, Donovan Mitchell and Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal for letting a bunch of people dunk on him. And Donovan Mitchell, who, as far as I know, has never been Jaylen Brown's teammate, which you normally see guys dunk on their teammate or get an assist from their teammate. This time, Jaylen Brown got an assist from his rival in the Eastern Conference, Donovan Mitchell. So give some credit there to Donovan Mitchell and Shaq for helping out, assisting with the dunk contest. When you have questions on coverage options, your State Farm agent is there to help on the phone or in person. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Couple of lowlights for me from the game, and they come from a dear friend and someone that I have great respect for, who I think is an ultimate competitor and simply one of the best basketball players in the world. I could not stop laughing when Luka Doncic tried to get a 2-for-1 from three-quarter court and heaved it off the glass with 34 seconds. Technically it was a 2-for-1. I know what he was doing. Just absolutely ridiculous. Even more ridiculous than his dunk attempt, throwing it off the glass and getting stuffed by the rim. Everybody has bad days. Not a great day for Luka. Overall, though, I want to take an overall look at this weekend and say this. We think about these moments, whether it is the celebrity game, whether it is the Rising Stars versus G League, or the dunk contest, skills competition, 3-point contest, All-Star game, all that stuff, in its totality. Are you moving the game forward? I think that's the question. Did this weekend move the game forward? And I think there's enough positives. I really do. I think there's enough positives. The Steph Sabrina matchup for the 3-point contest with the money going to charity. Damian Lillard winning his second straight 3-point contest. A G League guy, Mac McClung, winning his second straight dunk contest. The All-Star game, maybe not so much. But overall, I thought the weekend moved it forward. And I particularly liked all of the references and the sort of nods to the roots of Indiana basketball. And again, that's why I go back to say, my State Farm good neighbor for this weekend was Tyrese Haliburton for just being a great ambassador. And that's not just because we had him on the show. That's not good. I want to thank you guys, as always, for hopping on with us for our YouTube Live. Again, this has been our All-Star Weekend reaction presented by State Farm. Appreciate you guys. Thanks again to our partners, State Farm. And always remember those words that make you feel good. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.